Hello again. This is going to be just a quick little video of us tying ends up and talking to our companions. So it's going to be more of like a story-based episode. I will do quite a lot of reading. Hopefully my voice will hold out. And I'm also going to experiment with some editing techniques so that I can show you most of the gameplay. But there's this Reekwind guy, and he'll be someone you talk to a bit. This man is looking at you with a strange bug-eyed stare. His eyes are huge, so huge they look ready to pop out of his sockets and roll across the cobblestones. He nods eagerly as you approach, bobbing his head like a bird. As you near him, you suddenly notice the smell of urine and feces surrounding him. The man sniffles, wiping his nose on his sleeve, then opens his mouth to reveal blackened, rotten gums. Stories for coin, sirrah? His breath reeks. It smells like this man has been keeping rotten meat stored inside his mouth. Stories for coin? Who are you? The man snorts, thick with phlegm. Names, names. Who are you? Who you are? His head does a slight twitch every time he repeats himself. Names. Dangerous, dangerous. He glances at the ground and stirs the dirt with his foot. Dangerous? Knowing a name or being stuck with one, both's a mess of trouble. He looks back at you. My name's a given name, not one asked for. Reekwind. Once again you become conscious of his reeking breath and the smell of urine and feces that surrounds him. A given name, a given name. And not my true name. True names have power. Names are like smells. Things can track you with them. I don't have a true name. Reekwind's eyes widen. Seeing his eyeballs bulge even larger makes you uneasy. Then you're blessed. Blessed. Remain nameless. And you shall be as a spirit on the plains. Untraceable, untrackable, unseen, undiscovered. Reekwind gives a twitching nod. Basically, Reekwind was cursed by a guy who knew his name, and you can get stories from him for 3 coppers, and you can let him choose stories. He tells the story of how the alley, I keep trying to call it a valley, the Alley of Dangerous Angles was burnt by a sorcerer who was Ignis, which is the story he's telling right now. And then what happened to Ignis when various mages got together and opened a portal through him. But hearing these stories is enough. Alright, I'd like to hear the story about how you were cursed. Let him choose a story. Okay, so he's retelling the Ignis story. He's ripping me off here. And I'll keep listening. Okay, let's see. I'd like to hear a story. And you can basically tell him a story and share it with you, and then Reekwind gives you a special coin for telling the story, and he'll tell you the story of Farad. So I'll read this one to give you an example of what Reekwind does. Because his stories are pretty cool, and again, as for most things in this game, they're pretty well written. Reekwind suddenly hunches over and leers at you. He walks around you for a moment, dragging his leg as if lame. A king! A noble tale! A noble tale! A tale I can tell, but 3 coppers must I see. Reekwind remains hunched over, staring at you. Once a man of respect, Farad was. A man of goals and position. All became nothing, nothing turned to air. Reekwind squints and breaks wind, filling the air with a gut-churning smell. Turned to air and stink. A liar, a cheater, a man who twisted law, Farad was. He hunches over as if writing at a desk. He writes for a moment, then suddenly stops afraid. Then one day he found that he had twisted himself. Such a liar had he become that when he died, he was to go to a horrible place. Requin shakes his head sadly, then hunches over again and looks wildly in all directions. Farad would not accept it. Would not. He had cheated others, he would cheat his fate, too. He read, dug in books, and consulted seers. Requin stalks back and forth, his hand over his eyes as if staring off into the distance. And they told him that only in trash could he find that which would let him cheat his fate. Requin breaks wind again, then gives a reeking cough. Perhaps they lied.
Updated my journal.
Requin stands up stiffly, then begins to fling off imaginary clothes. With every piece of clothing he throws away, he becomes more hunched. Farad threw away his position, his goals, and took up a new title. Requin stops, then leers at you. He claws at his rags, shaking them, and became a king of rags. He would rule the trash, have his subjects search it all, and find that which he needed. He shakes his head. He looks even now. Do you know where I could find him? He lives amongst rags and trash. That's where you'll find him. And he tells you about the hive and the alley of dangerous angles. And those are Requin's tales. Now, one area I've not talked about is the Office of Vermin and Disease Control and the rat salesman in front of it. I'm not going to go there yet because there's nothing for us to do except talk. And that's not going to help me right now. So here's going to be where I experiment with acceleration.
I'm gone.
And here we are back in Fel's tattoo parlor. Now, if you have Dak'kon in the party and talk to Fel, you can have Dak'kon translate for you. And now we'll understand Fel a lot better. So, he split his speech with a contradiction. Dak'kon pauses for a moment. I'm asking Fel if he knows who I am. He says it's the first time you've come to him. He says that it's not the first time you've come to him. Does he know who I am? What did he say, Dak'kon? You are known to him, but he cannot tell you what you want to know. Why not?
Updated my journal.
In place of an answer, he surrenders an apology for his silence. He says that he cannot change the nature of a man. As Dak'kon repeats these words, you feel a terrible pressure in your head that fades with the last word. And he says that behind the curtain is a gallery. He says that he knows you as his canvas. He shows respect to your strength with his admiration. Dak'kon is silent. Then he insults you by giving you his pity. He pities you for the scars Torment has left upon you. And he says you have endured, and enduring you have grown strong. A long string of rebuses appear above Fel's head, then surrounds his arms like manacles. He says his admiration is known through your enduring of loss. He says that loss hangs on you like chains, yet you stand as you walk. What did he say, Dak'kon? He says loss covers this life and all the ones that have come before. He says you molt like a serpent, leaving these lives behind you as you walk all of life's paths. Does he say anything else? He says, would you know this warning? Each of your lives casts a shadow on existence. Your path will take you to a place where the shadows do not know themselves, and the walls are made of regret. He says, do not sign anything. He asks if you know yourself to be complete. And I say, I don't, in fact. Fel nods, and he says, he pays respect to your strength, and he tells you to keep faith, and you shall know yourself again. He says that shadows killed you. We already found that out the last time we were here. And he says the tattoos on your body are not his. The symbols upon your back are directions left to yourself. He knows that it suffers even when the mind does not. Alright, and that's all we'll glean from him at this time. So, we'll cast our evil friend spell and ask him for tattoos. And now you see we've got some for doing different quests. And we're going to acquire a few different ones, mainly for myself. We'll get... let's see what we've got. Yes. So... I'm going to up my charisma and my intelligence. Where is it? I guess I don't get the tattoo of greater insight, greater enduring, greater health, greater action, tattoo of the spirit, tattoo of the skull. So we'll just buy that cheapo one. And Dak'kon can actually get a couple too. So we'll get him the nice one for armor class. And one that ups his constitution. And probably one that ups his strength as well. And we'll just put those on. Now Dak'kon is quite a bit stronger. And my stats are all modified. So you can see now my charisma is insane. When I have it, it's legendary level, even higher. My wisdom is legendary, and my intelligence is slightly above average. Dak'kon is quite a bit better as well. Now, you can talk, so sort of like Mass Effect, you can, what later became famous in Mass Effect, and also this game itself, is the first game that had Jennifer Hale as a voice actor. You can talk to party members. And you can ask more about Sigil, and he tells you about the City of Doors, and while you talk to the characters, theme music of theirs will play. And Mort doesn't have anything to add to us right now.
What is your will?
I want Dak'kon's music to play, so we'll change areas.
What is your will?
So you can talk to him about Githzerai, and you can ask him why he puts special emphasis on knowing. And if you ask him if he knows himself, he gets upset. And so we'll just leave him there. And you can also ask him about Githzerai people in their language. So we've already been through this. Githzerai language, can you teach me about the language? Know that the speech of the people has its foundation in history. All things are a story to us. Metaphor is a tool and an inspiration to the strength. Know, when we speak of Turgir's table, we remember that Torg was noted for his hospitality and goodwill. When we speak of Selkant's heart, we recall the lecherous and cruel nature of Selkant.
Updated my journal.
And we get 600 XP, and he teaches us some common forms of speech and expressions. A wise man is said to have wrote the Book of the Anarchs, while to accuse another of treason is to remember Vilkar's eye. It is said of generous people that their cupboards are bare. Common greetings include Hail, Swordringer, and Zerkai can bow to you, to which one should respond, and the traveler is pleased. Dak'kon is a skilled teacher. After his instruction, you feel capable of exchanging proper greetings with other Gith. And he doesn't know anything about Farad, and he knows a bit about Sigil, but we've already been down that line of speech before. Can you help me? I wish... And Dak'kon can help you switch classes back and forth between mage and fighter, which is pretty helpful. And he can teach you the ways of Zerthimon. I want to know the people and know Zerthimon's teaching. I believe there is wisdom to be learned in such things. I'll read the first circle then. Now, this will get you new spells and experience and make Dak'kon stronger each time you do this. So it's pretty good to do it, and it requires you to have either a very high intelligence score or a very high wisdom score. And what it does is he has a lot of characters will have items that they won't let you remove, like Dak'kon's armor.
This ceremonial armor is the symbol of a Zerth. I will not part with it. The blade will not exist if it is taken from me. I cannot part with that.
So, and this circle is one such item, and you can use it, and you can unlock the plates and read of the history of Zerth of the Gith. Now, I'm not going to read it out in this because it's quite long, and is one of the nicer, cool points of this game. And so, if you play it for yourself, I don't want to spoil it.
What is your will?
And then
Updated my journal.
I'll read the second circle then. Basically, they talk about the history of Zerthimon and the religious teachings, more or less, of the... more or less about the history of how they came to be Zerth. So, essentially what happens is... there are these creatures named Mind Flayers, and they eat your brain, and they have octopus heads, and they had enslaved the Gith and would eat their brains for power and enslave the rest of them. Illithids are what Mind Flayers are called in this particular setting, or in response from the Gith. And one particular Gith of the Gith sort of had this moment of awakening. Zerthimon was his name, and he was a slave. And he learned how to use his mind to shape steel.
What is your will?
And eventually led a revolution against the Illithids. And as you see, we now have some circles of
It's in
Zerthimon,
my spell book.
and we can memorize those spells. I don't know how many I'll be able to get through in this case. So, it talks about how he is laboring in the fields and getting ready for the revolution. And then Zerthimon starts killing the Illithids, or getting ready to.
What is your will?
And it also talks, one of the catchphrases, and then Dak'kon gives you another, and he says, "Your will has brought you the knowing of the third circle of Zerthimon. With this knowing, I impart this to you." He hands you what's essentially a spell scroll. As you ask the words, you suddenly notice that Dak'kon isn't looking at you. He's holding the unbroken circle in his hands. His blade has taken on the same texture as the unbroken circle, and Dak'kon suddenly seems older. Dak'kon's black eyes rise from the circle and look at you. "Know that I did not believe you would come to know the teachings of the circle. It is a difficult path. You will walk in learning the ways of Zerthimon. Is your mind focused in this matter?" "Yes, I must learn more."
It's in my spell book.
Here's the fourth circle. So, basically there was one guy who, named Vilakar, who didn't think the Rising would work out, and became a traitor. But, Zerthimon was not discovered, and Vilakar, the traitor, was killed by the Illithids. So at the end of the day, the treachery
What is
didn't
your
help
will?
anybody. So here's, when one chooses to see only what is before them, they see only a part of the whole, they are blind. And just as Vilkar was blinded by his promised reward, so were the Illithids blinded to the true rising. For when they heard Vilkar's words, they turned their sight outwards again, didn't they? And the rising was free to strike, because they thought that they had killed the revolution, and they had not. Know that you speak truly. Vilkar's eye blinded both Vilkar and the Illithids. The tentacled ones thought the rising to be no more. When the rising occurred, the ground drank deep of Illithid blood. So was victory born from treachery. It's a curious lesson. Why would it be part of the teachings of Zerthimon? There is much about the way of Zerthimon, and its path is difficult to know. Do you know why Vilkar's eye is part of the way? It is part of the telling of how our people came to know freedom. It lets us know that there are those, even among the people, who are not of the people, and that even in the greatest treachery, a greater knowing may be achieved. You have come to know the fourth circle of Zerthimon. He takes the circle, and with a deft motion, he twists up one of the links, so one of the plates, it slides forth. He hands the plate to you. Meditate upon its teachings. I would know more. Oh, and we're not allowed to know any more level 1 spells right now. And someone got mad at our philosophy talk, so we're gonna clean them up really quick.
I'm gone. I'm gone.
The fifth circle of Zerthimon. Now, Zerthimon didn't actually end up leading the rebellion. There was another who was a warrior who fought for the Illithids. And she was the one that ended up
What is
actually leading the revolution. There is great strength in numbers, but there is great power in one, for the strength of the will of one may gather numbers to it. There is strength not only in knowing the self, but knowing how to bring it forth in others. You have come to know the fifth circle of Zerthimon. With this knowing, I impart this to you. He takes the circle with a deft motion. He twists one of the links, so one of the plates slides forth. He hands the plate to you.
It's in my spell book.
And we'll read another circle of Zerthimon, the sixth. So this talks about how after the revolution, the military leader of the revolution wanted to conquer the Illithids and possibly all of existence, while Zerthimon was happy to just say, hey, we won the battle, let's quit. And so they split between two tendencies. The aggressive and the passive, more or less. I know that Zerthimon's devotion to the people was such that he was willing to protect them from themselves. He knew the Illithids had come not to know themselves in their obsession with control and domination, so he chose to stop Gith before she carried the people to their deaths. There must be balance in all things, or else the self will not hold. Dak'kon's voice slows. And 2 plates. Do you know the 6th circle? Dak'kon looks up, but his coal-black eyes do not meet your gaze. No, there is nothing more I may teach you. You know the way, as the people know it, and it shall give you the direction by which you know yourself. Dak'kon is silent for a moment and then speaks. It has come to pass that I do not know the 6th circle of Zerthimon. Once I knew it, but I know it now. I only saw the words. That is all. Dak'kon, there's one other thing I would know. Why is Vilkar's eye in the circle of Zerthimon? It seems strange. It tells of how the people benefited from a treachery from their own. It seems... I have told you it is part of the telling of how the people came to know freedom. Do you not listen? It tells the people that even in the greatest treachery, a greater knowing may be achieved. It doesn't sound to me like you believe that. I think there's another reason Vilkar's eye is in the circle of Zerthimon. It is set there because of the 6th circle and the pronouncement of 2 skies. It's there to justify Zerthimon's treachery to the people upon the blasted plains. He divided the people upon the blasted plains, Dak'kon. He divided your race when they were on the path of victory. I would like to believe that it was because he wished to save the people from themselves, but I don't think you believe that. I do not know the 6th circle as it is known to others. I fear that the 3rd circle, the 4th circle, and the 6th circle are more closely linked than mine know. It is in that knowing that I have lost myself. In the 3rd circle, Zerthimon submerged his will to deceive the Illithids. Then in the 4th circle, it speaks of the benefits of treachery. Then in the 6th circle, Zerthimon divides his people before they exterminate the Illithids. Do you think Zerthimon's words may not have been his own? Know my words, and know the wound that lies upon my heart. I fear that when Zerthimon was upon the Pillars of Silence, he did not submerge his will. I fear his will was taken from him by the Illithids, and when he spoke upon the blasted plains, it was their words he spoke. I fear that what he did was not for the people's sake, but for our former masters.
Updated my journal.
Then know this, and speak of it no more. Know that I shall never know the truth. There is no resolution to this matter, for I shall never know Zerthimon's heart upon the blasted plains. And so I do not know myself because of the unbroken circle of Zerthimon.
I feel stronger.
Ooh, we leveled up. And I believe this will be our last point in wisdom for the rest of the game. And now it is quite high. And we've got another circle.
It's in my spell book.
Gives us a level 4 spell.
spell has been added to my teachings.
And our friend gets to have it as well.
What is your will?
There are things I would know. Let me ask you about the teachings. Alright, so we're not ready for the additional bits. So there's the Circles of Zerthimon for now. And we can know no more level 1 spells. And we do have a couple, Balance in All Things. I don't think Dak'kon is quite ready yet, no. And now we are prepared to have a little rest and
Right.
find Farad.
Right.
Although there, Dak'kon has agreed to help the trees grow as well by sending them positive thoughts.
I know dadders today said walking ones looks like.
So we're gonna go to Ragpicker's Square and do a little investigating.
I'm gone. Done. I'm gone. I'm gone. All right.
And also turn in one more quest. So we have that ruby.
Updated my journal.
And there he goes. So we got that out of the box when we teleported it out. I'm going to try and find a spell to use. Now we have none of use. So that will be the end of this episode. And in the next episode, we will make it to Farad.